Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt from Divination Counseling Service. Excuse me. Here to present the full moon of May 16th, 2022. It is actually a total eclipse. And one of the reasons I decided to do this, then go into medical astrology, is A, it is a total eclipse, and B, the next 3 months of full moons are going to be quite exciting between total eclipses and total complete solar eclipses. So we're really in that time period right now. And not only are we in the eclipses, but which happens at the equinoxes, just in case you wanted to know, but it's also a time when each of the full moons will have a special meaning and be very, very important to what's going on. I'm one of those astrologers that feels that from May all the way through the end of July, that particularly in the world at large, but also in this country, there's going to be a lot of information that is going to come out. Information that could be quite scandalous. So we just have to wait and see. I do want to say thank you to all of my subscribers. If you're not a subscriber, I hope you'll consider becoming one. And in the meantime, if you would like, share, comment, I'd love to hear from you. I especially love hearing what you have to say about the videos. So please feel free to do that. I want to, before we get into the chart, I want to talk about the most important aspect of this chart. Yes, we're coming into 3 full moons that are going to pack the punches between the May full moon, the June full moon, and the July full moon. And full moons are what they are. They're very illuminating. They are reflections of light from the sun. So we're going to probably be able to see a lot, hear a lot, and maybe gain a lot of information in the next couple of weeks that I think, in light of the aspects that I had done earlier, this is going to be a very eye-opening time. And we're all going to live through it together. And I don't care where you are in the world. So many countries in the world, so many democratic countries are doing elections. And I think those elections are going to be very telling. So let's jump in and have a look at what the full moon of May, the first of 3 big ones, has to tell us. What is the message in here for us? And how is it helping us to evolve? Because remember, my new approach to looking at these conjunctions and these aspects and these lineups are that I know that this is an astrological evaluation, if you will, or an astrological push for us to mature, to evolve, and to gain more wisdom. So let's jump in and I'm going to first look at the chart, as I always do, in Janus. I'm going to try to go a little faster. When I did these before, to me, they always got too long. So hopefully I can do these a little quicker. But let's go look at Janus for a moment and see what it brings to the table. So both charts feature a Saturn ascendant. So we have a Capricorn ascendant on both of the full moon charts for the 16th of May. And what's really interesting about this is that Saturn actually forms the midpoint between the sun and the moon. Let me show you this. So here's our moon at 25 degrees of Scorpio. Here's our sun at 25 degrees of Taurus. So, of course, they're in opposition, just as they're supposed to be. But check this out. 2456. I mean, how close to 25 do we really have to get? And here we have Saturn in Aquarius, forming a T-square to both the sun and the moon. And so while I'm on Janus, these are the two aspects I want to start with, okay? So starting off with the sun square, okay? So we're gonna start here, all right? And the sun is squaring Saturn as it opposes the moon. Okay, so now we have a reflective period. What we're looking at is Saturn. Structures, our maturity, our ability to organize. What is it saying? Well, basically, it's raising issues that are going to be hard to handle, but they must be handled. And that's going to happen to us all around the world, on some level, even on a personal level. Some people are going to go through this. There's a conflict here between self-gratification and duty. Well, some of the areas that are coming to light with regards to some of the information that we're finding out is how many people committed derelictions of duty in order to gratify themselves. That's going to be a big theme, actually, all summer, at least May, June, and July. There's a tendency for a lot of people to feel depressed and even restricted. Well, some of the news that has been coming out of Washington, especially regarding Roe versus Wade, voting rights, it's all about restricting us. And it's really depressing, particularly people who are on the other side. Although I can't help but think it's not depressing everybody that they have to do this. It's as though we want to break through our rut, but we can't. We want to do something, but we can't. So we're all feeling a little bit stuck. It comes, in some cases, I'm going to start there. In some cases, people have to spend time with those they would prefer not to be around or have anything to do with. So there's a lot of obligatory type scenarios that are occurring. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is an eclipse. So though I'm talking about something that's occurring May 16th, realize that May 16th this hits. But we've actually been feeling many of these feelings since February. Ironically, for those of you who are in America, it was in February that they wrote that opinion about Roe versus Wade. How about that? But it waits till the eclipse gets close to the hit to actually be leaked. Okay? Just realize that actually eclipses take 12 weeks to come into manifestation. And that the actual manifestation occurs at the hit. That's when things are illuminated. I think that makes sense. Okay. Many of us will feel alienated from other people, and this is going to be particularly true if you find that you're having to associate with people who are not like-minded, and how difficult that is for people. You know, that's the funny part of it. When I was doing this, I've actually been hearing people complaining about some of the people they have to deal with, work with, put up with, and they're not happy with that. I can think of a situation where a woman I know has a small business on the side. She has a regular job, but she has a small business, really wanted to put a lot of effort into the small business until she realized the political, how do I want to put this? The political controversy of the group. The group is not politically on her page. As a matter of fact, they're so much in opposition that she's in a quandary as to what to do because she loves the product so much, but not the politics. Boy, is that in here. It's just interesting because I'm not sure what she's going to do. Be wary of fear. Wow, I can't really stress this enough. You know, Judging Your Life, great movie, Mel Brooks, Meryl Streep. It's an older movie. boy, it teaches us a lot about fear and how fear is not your friend. And one of the things that we're learning with the Sun square Saturn is that fear is terrible factor for us, and it really affects our lives in a very negative way. So be mindful of those people who would fearmonger as a way to control and manipulate people. Maybe we feel that circumstances tend to get in the way of who we really are as people. Now, this would be true. Example, I'm going back to my friend because I think that there's a lot of people in her position. I think the issue is that she doesn't really feel that she can be who she really is if she's affiliated with an organization with that kind of political, I don't know, that they take that political side. Let's go that way, with those political views. And it really, and I know that because it's really keeping all of us apart from other people. The people that we may love, but we have to stay away from them because of the political differences and the wedges that divide us politically. Maybe we feel that circumstances are getting in the way of who we are, and we're really resenting it. That's the other side of it. It's not just that my friend is really being kept from exercising her freedom to really expand on a business that she really loves because she's already resenting that she's making money for political oppositions. Something to really think about. This is not a good time for relationships in general, but most particularly, it's really not a great time for relationships with authority figures. It's best if we can convert our impatience with restrictions into a form of self-discipline. Actually, it's what she and I were talking about. That, maybe we have to figure out a way that we can either get around this or use some form of restriction or discipline as a way to handle what's in front of us. Often what we're going to be finding through this experience is that it's not others that are holding us back. It's actually decisions that we've already made. And it's about the path that we're on. And it's actually us through those choices, through those decisions that has kind of set us up in this situation that feels like it's holding us back. I can think about people who are stuck in jobs that they no longer like or care about, but they have to remain there in those restrictions because here we go with people who might have been working from home now have to go back to work, and they can't say no because they are in my age group and their pensions rely on their ability to finish out until retirement. So companies know they have you over a barrel and they're calling you back in, whether you feel safe or not, whether you feel that that's the most extensive, how do I want to put this? We're more productive when we work from home. That's what they're finding out. And again, companies that are calling you back into the office, sometimes they're not doing it for the right reasons, and it can affect productions. So that's going to be on them. Physically and psychologically, our energies are going to be at a low ebb right now. And this is, again, something that we're going into in May, but due to the fact that we've got all kinds of stuff coming up with these full moons for the next several months, it just makes me wonder if it's going to be kind of a tough time for a lot of people when it comes to their energy over the summer. I guess because the weight of the world right now just feels so heavy. There's just so much going on in the world that whether we want to be affected by it or not, we are, because it's in the skies. So it's important for us to realize that we've made our choices and we are reinforcing those choices sometimes is what makes us feel lonely. That's what causes those lonely feelings, the scenarios, the situations. It would be better if we could break out of this vicious cycle and look at the world and the people around us. And the reason we might be feeling lonely and isolated is because on some level we no longer relate to that. Or we don't relate to those people, or we don't relate to that conversation. These energies present us with problems within our own egos. The purpose, as I see it, is to discourage. It's about the purpose of discouragement. Okay, so let me read the way it is. I don't even know how to read my notes. The purpose of discouragement is for us to reveal our weaknesses and show where we need to work on ourselves to create greater confidence in who we are. It's a critical time in our development for all of us. Again, remember, all the planets are about our evolution. Okay? Many factors are changing in the outer world. It can be hard to maintain our own personal freedom of actions. Yeah, we're getting curtailed all over the place by the right. I've mentioned it earlier. I'm mentioning it again. I just think this is going to end badly for them. It says, it's better if we can be patient and persevere. And, it's what we're learning, basically. Okay, we're learning that we need to be patient, to persevere. And these are the things that we want to lean on, this perseverance, this, be firm, lean into that right now until this aspect has passed. And it won't be long once the 16th hits, a couple weeks maybe, and that's it. Because we've been dealing with this already for almost 10 weeks. So there you have it. It's about 10 weeks already. It's best not to struggle too hard against any adversaries right now. It's actually better to work patiently. Just don't back down or withdraw from the confrontations, okay? But again, don't just fight blindly either. That's why I liked when the announcement happened. Biden didn't immediately answer. He went and did a little research, and then he made a public statement. That's what we all need to do. It's a period of time that reflects things that have been going on for 7 years. Yep. 2015, when they're setting up for the election of 2016. I think that was, I think the disinformation campaign was going on long before that. But that's when we got so many of the players on the field. This was a time of new beginnings. This now is a time to make an honest evaluation of what occurred 7 years ago and what has it done to us in the last 7 years. Some of this will be associated with failure. In other words, whatever was started 7 years ago, some of it's not going to move forward because it has failed. But we don't really know what's failed yet. We will, okay? So, and we won't know right away, which I think is interesting. We have to wait for the elections. And by the way, even then, we're not going to know right away because of the way the Republicans have been handling elections. When they lose, they're going to try to say they won, and they didn't. And so we'll have to go to court cases, and everything will take a little bit longer. But we'll still win. We just, again, what we're going to have to put up with. It is important to cut loose what isn't working or looks like losses. It's just important to cut loose losses. Like Republicans need to lose Trump. Okay. So it is about really kind of evaluating what's been going on over 7 years and then trying to get rid of what didn't work and then process maybe what did work and then move forward. Now, this is going to be going on in every country. I'm not saying that every country is going to have such close elections. I didn't think France election was that close. I don't know about Slovenia, if I'm saying it correctly. I don't know how close that was, but I do believe they are predicting that the Australian election might be pretty close. And ours, anything that's close, you know they're going to give you an argument. It's just the way it is. Even when it's not so close. I think winning by 7 million people, Trump still couldn't accept that. So look for this, not just in the United States. This is going to be a world issue. Okay? It's right now, what we really want to do is start to concentrate on our successes, whether they're personal successes, whether they're political successes. But what we need to do, and I know they've been saying this about the Democrats for a long time, but we really need to really look at what has worked and what is working. Ambitions will take a bit of a blow right now, so be patient. This is about making sure that we're really, truly on the right path. You don't want to be ambitious and then realize, oh, wow, that was really stupid, to put so much energy and effort into something that isn't going to go anywhere. It's important to take care of your health right now. Whenever you see this kind of function going on, there is a lot of you can't really overtax yourself physically because you're going to break down your immune system. So it's a really important time to make sure that you're getting enough rest, that you're not pushing yourself so hard. Okay. And one of the things that I write about this is that this is an energy that's hard on us physically, and it will make us feel old, even when you're quite young. Okay. That's normal. With the moon. So I'm going to kind of highlight the moon. That was mostly highlighting the sun. With the moon, you're going to have some issues that are hard on our domestic lives right now. Well, inflation has been incredibly hard on our domestic lives, but everybody in the world is going through that. That is not just a United States problem, and I want to stress that right here and now. We all feel a little restricted, lonely, and even isolated from others right now. But this whole situation, this is about how remembering things in the past can also make us feel guilty. So again, not so healthy to roam around in negative speak. And that's another tendency when Saturn is an aspect to the moon, hard aspect, that we tend to go inside of our own heads and we have what I like to refer to as negative speak. It's when we speak badly to ourselves. This is really a tough time for women. Is it no surprise that the whole Roe versus Wade thing came up here in the United States? Australia's got some real issues with how badly they treat women, particularly in Parliament. So this is a tough aspect for women. The moon also represents our needs for connections and roots. But right now, we don't have the right structure for those connections, because Saturn represents structures. It also represents the formation of our egos as well as our sense of individuality and uniqueness. And right now the structures are kind of very hard on all of these things, and therefore it's not helpful. Especially when, an example, and I'm using the United States because I happen to know the laws better. I know that in Australia there's also some real problems with how the misogyny, let's use the word for, there's a real problem with misogyny. And here in the United States, when they are trying to rip off Roe versus Wade, they're not even considering rape, incest, or the health of the mother, which means women are not valued. Women are not being valued in this Saturn structure. This law is not only not good for women, it devalues them. I need to make that clear because it's very much a part of what's going on in the skies. Okay. So what happens is that, as I pointed out, there's this major conflict between these two energies. But really, what astrology is asking us is not to oppress women, but it's actually asking us to make some readjustments. It refers to the fact that Saturn structure is, the law is getting out of hand. And the lunar principle is suffering. Women. And I think, again, we could go to any country and look at that. It might not be women in general. It might be the public. Let's look at what Russia is doing to Ukraine. That's a whole public thing. So when you look at the moon, you're looking at the general public as well as women. This is time to make important changes. It's a time to de-emphasize work in favor of our personal lives. It's about recreating a strong balance in our lives. I think the whole pandemic has been about that. I think this whole pay scale thing is about that. I know too many people who have been killing themselves for their jobs. You don't need to do that. Nobody in heaven is going to give you credit for that. No one here on earth is going to either, because businesses don't care about people, only productivity and numbers. We need to take these important decisions into our own hearts to make and not rely on the system. As I pointed out, be wary of negativism. Right now, life just tends to look worse than it really is, and we have to bear that in mind. All of this can lead to failures in communications, misunderstandings. Again, our perspectives are not good. This is a time when some separations can and will occur. But we also have to be wary, too, of dwelling on things that have happened in the past. It's not going to change them. We need to move forward. We need to rebuild from whatever's transpired in the past. We also have to understand that maybe right this moment isn't the time to do that because our perspectives are off. And everything will look better when this is over. So I'm actually going to take us, that's the main jux of what I wanted to tell you. But I do want to look very briefly at the dial, as I always do, because it is, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on the asteroids, but I do want to look at some of them, because I think it's going to help us, even in terms of tools that we might need to help us get through this. And I will say this right now. Notice that Admetus and Mercury is, they're running together again. And even though Mercury is in the sign of communication, it is retrograde. Admetus is asking Mercury to think its way to the bottom of a matter. And that's what the sun, moon, midpoint equaling Saturn is also trying to get us to do, which is get to the bottom of the matter. Look deeply at what's going on and see if you can't get to the bottom of the matter. So let's check out the dial. Just briefly looking at this chart, I like the fact that we're getting, this is one of the reasons why I think things are coming out. Now, the moon is a reflective period, so sometimes a lot of things can come out. But look at this, Melpomene, okay, which generally means things are kind of not great, and Poseidon are running together. And I kind of take this as the Melpomene is talking about some bad news, and that bad news, is like coming to us suddenly. Okay, so some of this stuff is really important to look at too. I talked about in my earlier video the Uranus-Poseidon opposition, and realized that in this chart they are huge because they fall in the midheaven axis, like right on it actually. So it's really important. I also want to say that whatever happened with the Roe versus Wade, because remember, well, you don't know it on this one. The other one told you. This is a Washington chart. And I'm going to be honest with you, mother, child rearing, child taking, that's wool on the descendant. Okay. There really is some really, I just think they're being horrible to women. I really do. So I need to just say that, because that's what I do feel is there. But I do think So they are also solving some problems. Okay. I really do feel that we're in a big transformation here. It is beginning this month. This is what's so odd. And you know what's really cool? For those of you who live in the United States, you might get this. And I think this is, I just heard somebody read about the Australian election. So I think this is starting to take place and it's happening right now. And it may have already started with those two earlier elections that I already spoke about. But I do believe the world is transforming, that we are changing. And I'm hoping that means that we are kicking the butt of the autocrat system right out of reality. That's what I'm hoping. So let's see what happens. I know that for the United States, we may have to go through a lot before it gets better. We do have Aries, and the Aries is in Aries point does feature Jupiter, and because Jupiter, as of May 16th, is actually, and I might actually do just a little chart on that next week for Tuesday on the ingress of Jupiter, but it's actually ingressing, I believe, on the 15th of May. So I'll talk about that on Tuesday because that's going to change things a lot because it went from Pisces, that spiritual, religious, in depth, to now a more aggressive energy. And we will look up what that means to Jupiter. Okay. So I'll get to that and we'll do a whole thing on that. But that was another very interesting thing about this chart. So as I go into the dial, look at this, Apollon to the sun, Apollon to the moon. And you say, well, does that mean success to, or successful businessmen and success to women or the people? Because a lot of times Apollon is about expansion and success, but I do believe it is about expansion, particularly since Jupiter is also right. Let's see, here it is. There it is. Okay. So Jupiter is also right up there. And so I think for the world, some of the stuff that we're finding out is ultimately going to work to the benefit. Even this hateful thing that is going on in Ukraine. Also, I like the fact that Apollonia is down at the Aries point, but it's in the axis. It's down at the fixed point. So Apollon is again about expansion. Now, does it mean there's an expansion of restrictions? Yeah, the Roe versus Wade is talking about that. But it's an election year. Was that smart? We'll find out, won't we? So I wanted to look at that, but what we really should be looking at is right here. Okay, so the sun and the moon, here we are about 25 degrees of fixed. And there's a lot of Jupiter on it, so I know that we're healing. And despite the fact that people right now, this moment, are protesting decisions by authorities, CO, Cronus, I think it's going to work out okay. I really do. I think expanding our restrictions is going to prove to expand our ability to fight back and get rid of them. So I also want to point out that the sun and the moon equal Hades. Hades does refer to research. It refers, though, to deterioration. It refers to bacteria. I think it does mean that from May to June, the numbers for coronavirus will get worse. Please, I get my 4th shot today. My significant other tomorrow. Honestly, guys, we're not out of the woods with this pandemic. And so it's really important that we mind our personal space. And I love this, boundaries, okay? Because that is going to be important. Now, it's really interesting because when we looked at the chart, we saw that the sun and the moon equaled Saturn. But if we're looking here on the dial, since sun, moon, and Saturn are all together on the chart, they are actually because they're in square, Hades also is going to be involved in this, which is the past, which is things that have been put in place in the past that now are restrictive to us. It's about how there's deterioration because of things that have occurred in the past, or that things in the past were humiliating and embarrassing and degrading. So as you can see, this is a very interesting chart, and it was a really interesting chart for me to jump back in, and I haven't done a new moon or a full moon in months. And I think the summer is going to change that a little bit because it's just getting interesting. And it's not just here in the United States, but look around at look at the country you might live in. And I think you're going to see a lot of parallels. So let me come back. Oh, I'm back. Okay. So I wanted to keep this a little bit short. And I did okay. I'm just really trying to curtail what I'm doing in these videos. Now, if you have something you would like me to talk about, if there are some astrological factors that I haven't been talking about, because I am trying to really curtail the amount of time that I'm spending on the videos, then let me know. Just like any other card reader, psychic, you can question an astrologer. We can also. The only thing is we have to know ahead of time. But I can do the chart work. So if you do have any questions, please let me know. Now, if it's a personal question, and I know that those of you who have already asked me personal questions in the comment section, I'll happily answer it. I generally will not bring that in public. But if you have a question regarding a full moon, a new moon, or any other conversation that's going on in the skies right now, or in the future, write me, and I'll talk about it on the video. So for now, I just want to say thank you for watching these videos, and thank you for helping me to build this very small channel. But I really appreciate you guys. I really enjoy doing this. I am a teacher at heart, and I have a passion for astrology. I have a passion for tarot as well, but there's so many wonderful tarot people out there that I haven't really ventured out of my lane too much into the tarot. I might, never know with me. I could wake up one day and decide, you know what, I'm doing a tarot reading. And I'm going to do a tarot reading on a chart, but I haven't done that yet. So it's still possible. Who knows? But with that said, I want to leave you as I always do, that until we meet again, I wish you all only happy